welcome back. How was your break? Hopefully you fueled up and stretched a little. I had my dinner and I also watched a little bit of the dogs on the in one of the booths. It was very relaxing. We are going to move right on with our next speaker, who will be talking about community triage. So he's the head of community at Vanilla Forums and has over 10 years of experience building communities. By combining his passion for digital marketing and community, Adrian works to create beautiful and functional online communities to help brands connect with their audiences around the world. Please welcome to the stage, Adrian Speyer.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me wherever you are. Ooh. Look at that sound effect. I love it. Okay, let me get the sharing of screen going. Hoping that you can see my screen. I will assume you can. And if not, I'm sure someone won't be able to, but beautiful. So everyone, thank you so much for joining me today about this topic, which I'm going to call, or what I've called, Community Triage, the future of a community-centric customer journey. So really, I started thinking about this talk quite a while ago, and I need to explain to you that my wife is a nurse. So this is where this triage word came into my head. So the idea was that you would put the community at the center of any customer journey for the most effective treatment by your organization. And I want to add one small caveat before I begin. When I speak about community, in this context, I'm speaking about online platforms like forums. So I want to get that out of the way. But I think that the lessons and ideas can be used or inspire you however you think about your online community. And one of the things that we've seen in our research is something that's very intriguing. And I'll just kind of point out some of these bullet points, is that people dislike calling for support in survey after survey that I've seen, even in our own research, but outside of our own research. There was a stat we used to always see where I think it was something like 70% of people would rather clean a toilet than call support for help. And then, people are just trained to use Google as a help desk. I think we can all agree on that, right? You have a problem, what's the first thing you do? You go to Google. Hey, how can you help me? Maybe you go to Bing, I don't know, but you go to a search engine. The other thing is, what people love about self-help, and you can see that here. I can see some of the attendees. There are all different types of regions and time zones. There may be holidays or sick day issues. Well, that's not a problem when you have an online space that people can kind of go in and get help. And then people are happier. This is very true. I mean, I can tell you, I did a stint in support, and the thing I hated with those repetitive questions or really simplistic requests. And when you're having a chance to really work on those really good things, that's really important. And then finally, customers just want to be happier, right? Like, we want to make happier customers. So we actually did some research, which I've put the bit.ly link as well. It's available as well on our website. But what's really interesting is that we found that 84% of people try to solve their issue on their own first, right? They want to go and they want to get those answers, and they go out there. And like I said before as well, people are going to end up in Google, right? And community platforms especially are really well known for their SEO. You do any search, how to fix my computer, how to create a barbecue. You know what? That's the one things that made it really easy. And the other thing that we found out, like I said, is that the search being the thing. But another thing that we found out as well is that 79% of people expect self-support tools without contacting other support channels. So the majority of the people are expecting an opportunity to, not have to deal with someone by calling them. They have that expectation that there's some kind of tool or some kind of way to go through and kind of get their answer. And it also makes them view you better. So as you see, 77% of those surveyed viewed an organization more positively if they offered self-support. And the reason that was the case is they just found it much easier. And it actually was I thought it was a typo in our research, but 77% of people said as well that they prefer a good support experience than none at all, because if the experience was bad, they didn't even want to deal with it. So I was thinking about all these stats, and how can we look at it? So this idea of community triage, I had the thought that companies should look at a total dedication to the community, in the sense that if you think of the community at the top, and then as a filter all the way through that, community is a place that you could learn, a place that you can share, vote, and then this, of course, create content. And then at the small end of the filter is those account specific and private questions, right? Which is really what, are the things that a support model should be looking at. So in the end, community is at the center. So the idea is at the absolute heart of any customer journey. And ultimately my goal today is to encourage you and inspire you to see how your community can have an impact across your organization. Because there's one thing you always hear from me that I always try to talk about is community managers can be the silo breaker in any organization. And I say that at every event that I have a chance to talk to, be it a community event, a marketing event, a business event. I really believe that community managers and community builders have not only the power, but an obligation as silo breakers to really get the message across. And what today I want to do is show you how this can happen, because there are some companies that are doing it in part, and some are doing it completely, totally. And I think that in all of these different spokes in the wheel, there are opportunities and really exciting ways that we can go about this. So looking at support. So here's the community that we have. So the thought is that a community can be a great place for questions, certainly, right? And it'll veer off into those details that are private, maybe someone has a credit card issue. And, certainly, you want to hopefully have a platform that makes it easy for you to kind of send off people into that area. But here's what's interesting. You have the opportunity to have public discussion, right? That people can come and ask those questions. And that's what I was talking about, right? Making it a very easy way for people to go ahead and get their answers and self-support. But another way that the community can be used is from knowledge, and that is in the creation of articles. So support, I think, is one of the easy ones that people kind of see right away. I don't think I'm telling anyone anything that's very surprising in that sense, that you can consider the support area to be a bit of question or knowledge. And you want to think about how that journey is going to happen. And in many ways, you already have been doing that. But there are other opportunities as well. And I'm sorry, I forgot search, of course, being the most important, right? Search for that knowledge is something that is very key. I find like a lot of times if search is hard for people to find, if they're not able to find where they need to go for the search in a platform, that could be very difficult. Having search is so important. Next is sales. So I know a lot of people say, how can community be involved in sales, right? And I'm with you in terms of, as a community builder, I want to create a safe space, and I want to create a place where people can get the stuff that they need and build the connections. But there is an opportunity, to have impact. And the way I see that is in pre-sales questions and conversations, where people can come and ask questions about maybe a product and how it works. Or there's also an opportunity for a sales promotion, in the sense of, I'm not talking about where they invade your community and take over conversation, but a lot of platforms have like a sidebar or a promo that they can offer the community, a discount or a special or something of this kind. And then finally, two others that I think are really good is the sales form, where people can then go directly and get a demo. And finally, for doing self-research. And I think these four, we don't always think about in terms of the design with the community. And I know sometimes there are some that will get nervous about this, but that's important to think about having that impact and having that drive. And I saw that there was someone here having a thought about it can be very difficult in conservative organizations to be a silo breaker. And the way that in my experience and where I've had success is by hitting each of these departments and kind of showing them how I could be of service. And it's not that I want to take away from the benefits or the community building that I'm doing, but it's also showing them, here are the things that we can do if you work with me. And I would rather be part of the conversation and how I approach the community than have anything imposed on me. So, from pre-sales, it could be, creating a space where people can ask those pre-sales questions, sales promotion, that are offered, sales form that it's there that they can click and do a demo, or self-research. Another area that has an opportunity for people to learn or to use community is in product. So think about this for the product people, if in your life that you know, and I've had some really good conversations with people today about it, is that it's a place where bugs can be shared or confirmed or resolved. It's a great place where people can say, hey, I'm having this issue. Do you see it? I mean, this happens all the time in software. You know, you may think that you're having something, but now you have an opportunity to have that confirmation and maybe even solve it before it even becomes an issue for another department. There's the opportunity for ideas where people can submit and vote up ideas. That's really popular, right? And I'm seeing this. A lot of people come to us as a vendor sometimes, will say, hey, do you have something similar to Stack Overflow and Reddit? Because that's what people are familiar with and used to, and certainly we do that. And it's an expectation now almost that people will come to a community and have an opportunity to voice their ideas and submit and have those conversations. And then finally, how to, you know, that creating or learning with the product. I mean, some of the best guides and how to will come from your community. There, you know, as much as you'll be an expert on using your platform or maybe even your team, people have amazing and crazy ways that they'll use products. I've seen this really successfully used in gaming communities where people will create these walkthroughs. But I've also seen, I don't know if you people have seen this, but IKEA, there's a IKEA community that had how they were reformatting different IKEA things and doing amazing other projects with IKEA kits. So, I mean, it's a really great opportunity to engage people and have them share those ideas. You know, and you know, I'll take the questions as they come. So Stephanie's asking, how do you get them to build those how-tos? So what I found, what happens is there are some people that are just really engaged and want to do that. And I think that, you know, locating those people and having them part of the conversation, rewarding them, recognizing them, bringing them to the conversation. It's certainly not easy. I'm not going to say it's going to happen tomorrow or, you know, without some work, but you will find there's always these special people. I've been very thankful in our success community, for example. We have someone that has gotten really passionate about our product and, you know, has agreed to write things out, and they're sharing their own stuff. It may not even be a how-to article so much as how they did something. So there's a lot of different ways where you can engage in those conversations. You create a sharing thread. Or, you know, one thing I've always loved to do in my communities is have everyone share tips on how they did something, and then we create an ebook that's shared to everyone. So it's there's a lot of different ways to get to that how-to, but I really recommend it. Next is marketing. And I know this is one that people always get a little bit concerned about. And this is kind of how I can see community and marketing kind of coexist in a really great way. And you're going to achieve the same objectives and goals together in the sense of the community wants to have a, you know, a place that's really cool and amazing and making connections. And where I see there an opportunity for marketing with the community people is there's an opportunity for content promotion in the sense of not going in and blasting people and saying, hey, go download this ebook, so much as like I was saying earlier, that how-to, right? That the community comes together and helps you build with their knowledge and putting that together in a useful way, right? Because you have to understand, I know that I'm talking to a community audience, so I know that you will do these things in a thoughtful way. And that's the idea, right? Is that you're gonna think of ways that content could be promoted in a helpful way to help people learn and go on that step. Next is identifying case studies. Now, a marketing person is always looking for case studies, but a community is a great place. If you know of someone who is using the product really well, that can lead to an opportunity of an introduction and an opportunity for you to learn how people are using your product. And that's the same with advocates and influencers. You know, it's a lot harder, you know, for marketing. Yes, they can social listen and they can lurk, but you're probably going to have a much better handle on who those advocates and influencers are, and an opportunity to also reward them. You know, with the marketing being involved, usually, let's be honest, marketing usually has a budget that they can have for swag and for fun things or events and, you know, all those cool things. So having them involved in helping you identify those advocates and making those connections, even if they're quietly listening to weekly calls and just hearing directly from the community, it's really important. Because, you know, I found usually what happens is marketing will tell you something, right? And you could tell them whatever you think the community needs, but when they hear directly from the community, like, hey, we really don't like it when you come in here and you're pushing content on us, but here's how your content could be helpful. It's going to be so much more powerful for you. And then finally, the last way that I think that in marketing it can help is handle or identify reviews. And what I mean by that is helping you find people that want to leave good reviews about your product, but also being a stopgap for those negative reviews. I would much rather have the negative reviews in my community where we can have a conversation and have a discussion and not have a pile-on effect that can happen on a social network or in that case, and it certainly can happen in a forum, but I kind of almost feel, especially in a business forum, that you have a bit of control in the sense of, you know who these people are, you can have a conversation, you can look at their software purchases, you can have people from your team reach out and have people involved. So I think from that point of view, it's a really powerful way to do that. And then here's one that I think people forget about, which I think is a really interesting way. And I really wanted to expose, I guess, today, something exciting I think community can be involved in. Community can be involved in HR. You say, hey, how could that be? Well, I think there's 3 ways that you can use community to find people. Knowledge. So it's an opportunity for people that want to get into your company to show that they have knowledge of the product. As a matter of fact, for myself, when I joined Vanilla, I came from their open source community and I was able to prove my knowledge. They didn't need to ask me if I knew Vanilla. I was like, well, go look at my profile in the forum, see the stuff that I've contributed. The other thing was a culture fit, right? You can kind of get a sense of a company by their community and their culture, and does that fit in? And finally, passion, right? If someone is going out of their way to participate in a community and share and have a passion, I mean, it's a great thing. And, it's kind of a funny thing if you think about that. CMX Connect, what's really interesting about what they've done is kind of like an HR, if you think, because the people that have said that they want to be hosts have proven themselves with their knowledge. They've kind of already fit into the culture in terms of they understand what community is all about, and they obviously have a passion. So this is a very interesting way that companies can look at. I believe Zappos was a company, was doing this with their shoes. They wanted people to come in and make sure that they were a good fit before they even gave them an interview, to kind of join the community, show us what you know, have that opportunity, right? And that's a great way to go and do that. So to summarize, I think that community at the center is the future. I think it allows for more efficient use of staff from the point of view that you're giving people an opportunity to, focus on the things that matter to them and have the community kind of take some of that fun stuff. It increases your organizational knowledge because you're going to put it all into this system. It helps identify sales opportunities because people are able to self-identify and you're able to kind of capture that data. Same with the product feedback, that's an opportunity as well. And I also finally think it allows you to hire better in the end, because what you're doing is you're putting people through that filter and allowing that to happen so that you choose the right people and the right fit for the culture and the fit for the company. I really want to thank you all for listening to me and taking the time. I want to share my information with you. So you can reach me out on Twitter or LinkedIn or an email, and I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. And I will stop the share here. I wanted to have time for questions. You see, you never know when you go through and you.
Yes, we do have time for questions, actually. First of all, thank you so much, Adrian, for sharing all of that with us. Here is your celebratory clap.
Well, and the thing, I mean, you brought up CMX Connect, and I think that's what I found really interesting was, if you think about it, if you wanted to find employees for Bevy, that would be the best way to go about it, right? Because you're proving that they understand community. They're, like, if you ever decide to go work for Bevy, they would know, okay, Valentina's already involved and she's hosting the events, and we know, hey, this is someone that could come work for us. And I think Zappos did a really good job with it, and I really encourage other companies to consider involving their HR as in the community, in that sense of, hey, this is an opportunity to maybe uncover a superstar or someone that could be really amazing for the company that maybe an interview process may not find them. They have a natural passion, which is a great thing.
Yeah, and me and however many others who are part of the CMX Connect program, we all love being part of it. And from my perspective, it's helped me so much as a community professional grow my network, first of all, met so many people, and also become a better community builder, which is what I do and what I love. So yeah, no, it's a really great program, and I encourage other people to create those programs as well, because there are people out there that want to be involved. And it's easy to find people that have the technical skills, but to find people that have passion, I think is really difficult. You can learn those technical skills, but you can't learn passion, personally.
Yeah, well, this was my hope of the talk, was that if you think about the community at that center and then all the different departments that you can hit as a silo breaker, because people say, like, how do I have impact on the organization? How do I make those things? It's showing them that the community touches all these different things. And if you insert yourself in that conversation to be part of it, as opposed to being imposed on you, like Rich Millington talks about, don't fall into the engagement trap, or, I've talked about, and him and others talk about impact communities, right? And having that impact. And that's how you have that impact, by saying, hey, let me show you what we can do with the community. And having that, even when you're starting early. I think there was someone that made a comment, they were saying early, they don't have that yet. But being thoughtful in knowing, hey, this is where we want to go, and including, your CSM organization that say, hey, if you know someone who's really helpful and very knowledgeable, and we want to include them, that's an opportunity to bring them in the conversation and create something really unique.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we have a question here from Kate. She says, on the topic of putting community at the center of sales, you mentioned the potential of advocates and pre-sale process. Can you speak more to the idea of community members promoting your offerings in sales?
So here's the thing. I think that it has to be authentic. I mean, going and asking people, hey, go promote our stuff. That's not going to, maybe you give like a discount or a finder's fee. Really what I'm talking about is in the pre-sales, at least in the pre-sales process, I always found, like, if you have something that people want to know about, we actually have a customer that does this really well. They have a community that actually doesn't sell their product, but it talks to people that are thinking about it, right? And so the conversation is really hearing from one another, as opposed to the company going, you should buy this. They're hearing from other people that have gone, it's actually a medical device. So it's an opportunity for people to have like, I'm really scared about getting this surgery, and people are able to talk them through it. They're not selling anything, but they're hearing from the community. Yes, this is what I did, and here I'm living with it. Oh, and the owner of the community is actually the manufacturer of one of the products, but they're kind of funding it, and they're answering questions in a very neutral way. And they've created a great community by not inserting themselves in a negative way. And people just naturally gravitate towards this brand for the reason that they've offered this space. It's very helpful. People will recommend people to go check out this community to learn in that way. So I think it's with intention in that way. I think going and saying, hey, go sell more toasters for me isn't really useful. But if you're having like a great experience and people are like, my God, this is a great product, and they're going out and they're passionate, to your point, right? That they all intermingle. And that's kind of why I had it in a grid. Like, you're seeing passion from someone, and they're going out and they're being an advocate. And it's important to notice them early on, right? You want to get to these people as early as possible. When they're showing interest, don't ignore those people, right? How can I help you? Those weekly calls that we do with our community are really powerful as well, to uncover people and bring their passion in. So there's a lot of different ways. I think it's important that your sales organization is part of that conversation, that you can say, we can help, but let's do it on our terms, as opposed to them coming in and saying, let's try to get more business for ourselves.
All right, we have one last question from the chat. Stephanie says, how do you start to get the community to build those how-tos? We don't yet have a knowledgeable that our users can create their own content on. We're exploring building it. Pretty new community. We just launched in July.
Yeah, so obviously when you launch a new community, there's a lot of heavy lifting when you begin. I'm not going to lie and say there's like magic sauce that you're going to break out. But what you could do is, I don't know enough about the company, but I'm hoping, if there are other departments, sales, customer service, there's an opportunity that people may be able to help you identify. You can make it a competition. You can make it fun. Hey, here are topics that we need help on. Would someone be willing to? Maybe you give them a 3-month subscription, or access to something or it might be something as simple as they get a founder's badge and certain access to a product management team, or there are a lot of different ways that you can have fun with that and turn it out. But certainly when it first starts, I can tell you any community that had to start with how to, it's always the sweat and tears of the team kind of working on that. But I've always found like founders badges, like Stephanie's saying here in the comments, people love to see that and be part of the early start of the community and in that bond, right? Where you have like those, because it's a small enough group that you could even have weekly calls. Like, hey guys, like have that rah, just like you had your little, sound effect, you could do like 3 stars of the community this week, right? You have that call and you have building that and, you bring them in, right? Like everyone likes to be on the inside and kind of know, hey guys, this is what we're building. This is what we're trying to build. Can we, is anyone willing to help on this? And maybe it gives them insight into the company. And, there's a lot of opportunities there, but, just keep at it. Know that everyone started at the bottom and had to build that up. I mean, I can tell you that from working in many companies that the how-to stuff there's always one poor person who ends up having to start writing it at the beginning. And then eventually, hopefully the community comes and other team members get to know the product and are able to fill that out a bit.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that don't realize the sheer hard work that goes into launching a community from scratch. Like I've spoken to so many people, they're like, yeah, we'll just do this and this. And I'm like, this is like a full-time job inside of a full-time job. It's
funny, like we talk about community strategists and community, there's all these different things. To me, within community, launching from scratch, it's its own specialist skill. It really is, because for some people coming into a community that always exists, they're really good, right? They're really good at building relationships and continuing on what was built and improving and making it really great. And there are others that are just these, they're almost like fire rockets, right? That just are so good at getting the community off to the launch and really bringing their passion and getting, personally, I love starting from scratch. I know I'm crazy, but I mean, that to me is the most fun because that's a blank canvas, right? And, I always have the most fun with those.
No, I have lots of fun. I've started 2, 3, 4 of my own, actually. And I also manage others that have already started. And yeah, they're completely different ball games. But yeah, starting from scratch, it's like it's like that artist with that canvas and you can just do whatever you want.
And let me say this to everyone. I've failed hundreds of times or even so, but that failure has made me better at doing it. So don't think it was like, it was just, it was easy. And every time I make I should have done it differently. I mean, I did a talk at another conference. I was saying one of the things I made a mistake of having it all in my head. I didn't write it down, and then people were like, oh, well, there's a hole there in your plan. Well, I didn't notice because I didn't write it down. I mean, I'm much better about that now, but having it written down is a really good thing to make sure you do. And so when you fail as well, because I see Philip saying it makes him nervous, you have to fail. You have to fail. And my greatest failures were how I was able to make sure I didn't do it again. See, the trick is not to do the same mistake twice. That's the thing that if you keep making the same mistakes, then you're on your own. But learn, right? Like you just.
We're going to end it right there. Thank you, everyone. Thank you once again, Adrian, for sharing all of that. If you want to get back in touch with Adrian, he gave you all of his details. He is very active on social media, so you can drop him a message literally anywhere. Thank you again. I'm going to be back in a few minutes with Kat Velos. Whatever you decide to do for the rest of the summit, have a good one. I'll see you in a bit.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.